Okay, let's start by grading this assignment, Learning Opportunity 7.3. The volume for the rectangular prism in problem number 2 is 300 inches cubed. If you didn't put the correct units, just put them now, don't mark off for that. I chose this 5 by 6 rectangle as my base. And so that had an area of 30 when I did base times height for big B. 5 times 6 is 30. Then I substituted that into the volume formula for prisms. Volume equals big B, area of the base, multiplied by height. So volume equals 30 that we just calculated, multiplied by the height of the prism is 10, because these two rectangular bases are 10 inches apart for a volume of 300 cubic inches. That was problem number 2, because problem number 1 was one that I did as an example. Problem number 3, you had to recognize that these triangles were the bases. And so you need to use, when you're finding big B, area of the base, you need to use 1/2 base times height for a triangle. And this perpendicular symbol here, this square symbol, tells you that this side and this side of the triangle are at a right angle to each other. And so one could be the base and one could be the height. They don't give you this dimension on this triangle up here, but if it's 8 here and these triangles are congruent, then this must also be 8. So when I substituted into 1/2 base times height, I substituted 8 for the base of my triangle, 5 for the height of my triangle, and 1/2 of 8 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Once I knew the area of the base shape, I was then able to use volume equals area of the base multiplied by the height. That's a B, not a 13. That's big B. That looks so much better. Sorry. Big B multiplied by H. And big B we calculated is 20. Now the height of the prism is how far apart are the triangles. They're 4 apart. If it's sitting on a triangle, then the height of the prism is literally the height that you see, but it won't always be sitting on the base shape. So either think of placing it on its base and then think of the height that way, or just think about how far apart are the triangular bases. They're 4 inches apart. And so 20 multiplied by 4, 80 inches cubed for number 3. Number 4 is also a triangular prism. There's your base, and this time the base is not shown as the bottom face. This triangle back here is parallel and congruent to this triangle, so these are our two triangular bases. And so you have to find the area of this triangular base, 1/2 base times height, 1/2 multiplied by the base of the triangle, 26, multiplied by the height of the triangle, 10, will give you an area of the triangle of 130. Then you substitute that into the volume formula for a prism. Volume equals area of the base multiplied by the height. So the 130 that we calculated, multiplied by the height of the prism, which is 17 meters. How far apart are these triangles? They're 17 meters apart. If I stood it on its triangular base, wouldn't it be 17 meters tall? So that's the height of the prism. And so when you do 130 multiplied by 17, you were allowed to use a calculator as long as you wrote the equation and substituted the values. You get 2,210 meters cubed. You have choices for bases for rectangular prism. I chose to use this rectangle, the bottom face, as my base. So 6 times 4 is 24 for big B. And then when I multiply it by the height of the prism, 4, I get a total volume of 96 meters cubed for number 5. Number 6, the key to understanding number 6 is this dimension, this 10 yards that's perpendicular, but the dashed lines indicate that it's not part of the shape. It's just showing you this distance. Well, it must be showing you that distance to show you the height of the prism. And so if that's the height of the prism, then this parallelogram or this rectangle must be the base. This other rectangle is the base. So our rectangular or parallelogram bases are the formula for area of any parallelogram is base times height. And so big B is 13 times 20, which is 260. Then you can use the volume formula for prism. Volume equals area of the base multiplied by the height. So 260 multiplied by the height of the prism, which is 10. So 2,600 cubic yards is the answer to number 6. Number 7, also a triangular prism. The triangles are here and here. And so when we're doing big B, area of the base, we use the triangle formula, 1/2 base times height. So area of the triangle is 1/2 multiplied by a base of 26 and a height of 28. Half of 26 is 13, and 13 times 28, you could do that on a calculator on this assignment, you get 364. And then I can do the volume formula. Volume equals area of the base multiplied by the height of the prism now. Area of the base we calculated is 364. The height of the prism, I know that doesn't look like a height, but the distance between the bases is the height of the prism, 41 meters. If you took this thing and stood it up on its triangular base, it would be 41 meters tall. So 364 multiplied by 41, you get 14,924 meters cubed. Now, tell me the minus number. There were 6 problems because I did one for you as an example. So send me an email or make a discussion board post. Tell me I missed 1, I missed 3, I missed none, whatever. But you've got to turn that grade in today, please. Okay, moving on to today's lesson.